Yo, what's up guys, this is Don and welcome to another quick tips video for Cinema 4D. And today I'm just going to be showing you a really quick and easy technique which you can use in your projects. So I'm going to be showing you how you can use the tracer object to connect clones and objects. So if I just hit play, you can see I use this effect in one of my intros which I made for Noble Echoes, I believe. And yeah, you can see that all of the clones are linked together using this sort of wire or spline. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's what I'm going to be showing you how to do. So this is another example which I've just set up in Cinema 4D. Pretty simple. If I just hit play, you can see it grows from the center and the clones kind of just bounce out at the end there. It's some really cool animation. So I'm going to be showing you how to set something like this up, and I'll leave that with you, and then you can go and try your own ideas and effects. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything I have here, except for the object which I started off with. I just used a tube, a platonic, pyramid, and a cube, and these are all primitives which you can find underneath the primitives object menu right here. So you want to go ahead and set your objects, and of course this could be custom objects which you have created. It doesn't matter, but for the sake of the tutorial I'll just be using these simple primitives. And then I'm going to go to MoGraph and get the cloner, and I can drop this in here, and the mode, I'll change it from linear to radial. So I have this kind of thing going on. I'll increase the radius and increase the count, so we have more of our objects that we started off with. And what's really cool about the cloner, that it tries to sort of balance the numbers, based on how many, what your count is set to. So you get quite an even spread of your objects that are underneath the cloner. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, you want to get your cloner and make sure it's selected, and go to MoGraph and select tracer, and you're not going to see any difference here. And if for whatever reason you forgot to select your cloner, you can just click on your tracer, and in the trace link in the attributes down here in this gray box, you can just drag in your cloner, and it will activate it. Anyway, you want to change the tracing mode from trace paths to connect elements, and if we click away, we're now going to see a spline appear, and it's connecting all of our clones. And when I render, you're not going to see anything, and that's because the spline does not have any profile yet. It's simply a spline which we can see in the editor. So to fix this, we're going to get a circle. So we're going to be giving this a circular profile, and I'll put the radius of this down to 5. We may be lowering this later on. So it's a really small circle right there. And then I'll get the sweep knobs, and of course the sweep knobs is used to give splines profiles based on other shapes, such as the circle, the square, the diamond, whatever you want. And you can even make your own custom profiles with the spline tools, but that's another thing. So I'll get the circle and the tracer and drop them into the sweep knobs, and make sure that the tracer is below and the circle is above. So now you can see that when I hit render, we can now see where the spline is connecting all of our objects, but it's a little bit thick, and also there's a gap here between the first clone and the last clone. So let me fix the first problem. I'm just going to decrease the radius to 1, so it's really thin and quite slick. And I'll go to the tracer, and all the way down here in the attributes, you're going to see an option called close spline. You want to go ahead and tick that, so the there's no gap now between the first two clones, so the whole thing completes a full loop. And I just created a really simple material here. It's just double click anywhere in the material manager to create a new one, and I've just turned off the color and turned on luminance, and by default it's just white out like this. And I'm just going to drop this onto the cloner, and also onto the sweep knobs, and this is our our connector linking all this together. And I'm also just going to create a really simple and quick animation similar to the one you saw at the start. So I'll get the cloner and let's put the count to 1 and the radius to 0, and then I'll hold control on my keyboard and click the circles next to count and radius to set the first keyframes, but I'm actually at the wrong frame here, so I'm just going to drag this all the way to the start here, and then around 3 seconds at 90 frames I'll put the count up to maybe 50 and the radius up to 250, or maybe even more. Let's try 300 maybe. And the keyframes are going to turn yellow, which means that Cinema 4D is waiting for you to save the new positions. When it's yellow, it means that there's been a change in the in the position or in the value next to that keyframe. So we have to hold control again and click them, and when they're red, it means you have saved the keyframe, and you will see a new keyframe appear in the timeline. And we have this really simple animation, but you can see it's kind of really clogged up here. So what I'll do is go to MoGraph Effector, and let's add a random effector to this just to separate this from each other and create some randomness and a more organic look. So I will go to frame 1, and in the parameters of this random effector I'm going to put the exposition to 0, 0, and 0, and I'll set the keyframes to this, and at 90 frames where our animation stops I'll put 300, 300, and 300. And of course you can have anything you want. I'm just simply showing you the tools, and as always the rest is up to you to create something creative and something original. I think that might be too much. Let's try 250, 250, and another one, and let's save the keyframes. So we have this animation right here, and it's looking pretty cool, but there's a few problems here. Mainly that this whole thing is very jagged. As you can see, the animation is not that smooth. If I hit play, the way it starts, they just kind of really pop into existence really abruptly, and when we get to the final stages of the animation here, you can actually see, the last few frames, you can see all these clones shifting really abruptly, and it creates some really ugly animation. So luckily Cinema 4D has a tool which we can use to smooth out this animation. So if we click on the cloner, we're going to go to MoGraph Effector, and we want to use the delay effector, and this has 3 different modes. We have blend, which is used to create some easy ease with the keyframes, so they it's going to look a little bit smoother. We have spring, which creates that little bounce effect, and even, which is a little bit like blend, but it's it's more linear, whereas blend is more exponential. So I'm just gonna click play, and straight away we might see some improvements, but we can still see that jagged move at the end right there. So I'll get the strength and maybe put it up to 85%, and when I hit play, the start is a little smoother and the end is also a lot smoother. It doesn't have that really sharp edgy move at the end, and this is looking really cool. And you want to try the modes. Let's try spring. I really like this one. I'll put the strength of this up to 90, so this is going to be quite bouncy. So I'll hit play, and straight away right from the beginning you can see that it's kind of just bouncing all over the place. And let's maybe weaken that a little bit, and when I hit play you can see we have that. And what's cool about this, this is only one delay effector. You can actually add another one and mix the bounce and the sort of easy ease together, and you might get a whole new effect. But as far as the tutorial goes, there's just a few ways in which you can play around with the connector. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and feel free to leave requests for other tutorials. And recently I've been really busy, as some of you may already know, so I'm just uploading these short tutorials, and when I have a bit more clear air, I will get back to uploading the really advanced, sort of intermediate, in-depth tutorials. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.